4 townhouses under construction have been destroyed by fire in Markham, and another half-dozen townhouse units in a nearby church were also at risk. Good afternoon. The block of townhouses burned to the ground at a construction site in the Kennedy and Steeles area.
The Markham fire chief says firefighters couldn't even get into the burning buildings and concentrated on saving nearby units. CTV's Mike Walker is live at the scene this hour with the latest. Mike.
Well, Michelle, Nathan, as you can see behind me, there is nothing left. The townhomes that were under construction where this fire broke out. The fire was so intense that the flames actually spread across the street here. Now, police and fire investigators are on scene, and they will spend the day trying to determine the cause. A block of 4 townhomes reduced to charred debris after fire ripped through a Markham townhouse complex under construction.
There was a bunch of smoke, definitely, and there was like a couple houses here, right? And so we were just worried these houses would catch fire as well. There's like houses behind over there, and so it was really huge. I was telling them, let's go back, because I don't know, if we should be here, because it looked like it was spreading. Massive flames tore through the unoccupied townhomes near Old Kennedy Road and Aldergrove Drive around 11 last night. The fire was so aggressive and large, responding crews couldn't enter the burning townhomes.
We lost the original block of 4 townhouses. We were able to protect 6 units still under construction on the north side and as many as 12 units on the west side.
Markham's fire chief says strong wind gusts carried the flames across the street, damaging hydro lines, knocking out power to homes and businesses in the area. The flames also spread to this church that crews were able to save.
We limited the exposure damage to the church just to some flame impingement on the roof.
There was a bunch of smoke, definitely, and there was like a couple houses here, right? And so we were just worried these houses would catch fire as well.
No one was injured. The Office of the Fire Marshal is now looking into the cause. Investigators will be reviewing security cameras from the area, but at this point say it's too early to say what sparked this blaze.
We believe this fire may have been fed by some construction propane cylinders, and that's what was reported to us from our first-in crews.
Fire chief estimates damage to the townhomes to be around $5 million. Now, given the extent of the damage, the fire chief says it may be impossible to determine the cause. Reporting live in Markham, I'm Mike Walker. Michelle and Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Mike. A downtown coffee shop owned by a Jewish family has been vandalized for a 3rd time. This is according to the family.
The door to Goldstruck Coffee is boarded up after windows were smashed. CTV Sean Lee Thong joins us now live from Richmond Street West with the latest.
Well, Nathan and Michelle, you can see behind me that the door here to the Goldstruck Coffee Shop has been boarded up, and this just happened this past weekend. But they're telling me that this is the 3rd time since 2024 that this place has been struck. Now, we did actually secure some security camera footage from an incident that happened just over a week ago. Now, on the morning of March 16th, that was March 15th into 16th, it would have been an early Sunday morning, we got the security camera footage of somebody walking up to the coffee shop and actually breaking the front with what appeared to be a large concrete block and then going inside. They rummaged around for a while and were told that they actually made off with the cash drawer. But beyond that, it was just a week later that this incident happened here, the front window being smashed again. They say also back in 2024, there was an incident where the area was struck, and they have another location that was struck before it was actually even opened. There they say that there was a Star of David painted on the front. Now, our colleagues at CB24 contacted the Toronto Police and were able to only confirm 2 of the incidents, as they do have police reports. But at this point, the owners and the management is trying to figure out exactly what is going on here. Here's the manager we spoke to some time ago.
We are confused. We are, our higher management, working with the authorities at this point just to understand what's going on. As a small business, we are having a hard time. And our employees, including me, we are not feeling okay in certain ways, emotionally and mentally.
Now, you can see in that video, there was a single person who came inside the shop, but very difficult to identify the person. So far, there have been no arrests made, and they are saying they're, of course, frustrated as well because they just finished replacing the glass window behind me when it was broken once again. Reporting live, I'm Sean Lee Thong. Nathan, Michelle, send it back to you.
Thank you, Sean. Still to come, the Muslim community in Ajax speaks out after an attack in a public library on a woman wearing a hijab.
More news in a moment, but first let's take a live look at the city this afternoon, and you can definitely see a lot of cloud cover hovering over the downtown core. Not too bad at this hour, but we are anticipating some unsettled weather today. Let's bring in Lindsay Morrison for a look at the current conditions. Flurries or rain showers, Lindsay?
It really depends on where you are, Michelle. We have a chance of both of those things in Toronto specifically. Here's a big picture look at the satellite and radar. It looks like it's mostly flurries in many areas right now. Closer to the shoreline of Pickering over toward Ajax, Whitby and Oshawa, a few rain showers. And then the north end of Toronto around Richmond Hill and Markham, some flurry activity. So this will be on and off through the day today. Nothing all that significant as far as any accumulation. Winds out of the west today, and they're breezy winds gusting upwards of 40 kilometers per hour right now. Those west winds will be with us right through the evening. It's 4 degrees right now. We're forecasting a daytime high of 5 here locally, but you'll notice that it is cooler outside of the Golden Horseshoe, below freezing, in fact, in Owen Sound. 5 is our forecast daytime high. 7 is the norm this time of year, so a little below seasonal, and really that is the trend for much of this week. We're going to take you through everything you need to know, including a pretty unsettled weekend ahead. That's coming up. For now, Michelle, back to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. There's new information today about a spike in the number of measles cases in Ontario.
The Chief Medical Officer of Health says the cases in southwestern Ontario have been linked to a gathering in New Brunswick. CTV's Queen's Park Bureau Chief Siobhan Morris joins us now with the latest. Siobhan.
Dr. Kieran Moore made that revelation in a letter to public health units he sent out on March 7th, but it's only being made public now. Dr. Moore linked the spike we are seeing in measles cases in a couple southwestern Ontario communities to a large gathering of Mennonite communities in New Brunswick back in the fall. As of the end of February, 177 cases were linked to that outbreak, mostly in Grand Erie and southwestern public health units. We don't have newer numbers than that, but Dr. Moore warned Mennonite, Amish, and other Anabaptist communities were especially vulnerable to the highly transmissible disease because of low immunization rates and exposure. He notes that 90% of cases are showing up in those who are unvaccinated against the measles. It's why Dr. Moore is now recommending that parents in some parts of the province vaccinate babies sooner than their first birthday.
In the hard-hit areas in Ontario, in southern Ontario, there's a few areas where the recommendation is that the first dose of the vaccine can be given at 6 months to 1 year. And I think that's important because children, the youngest, are the most vulnerable to this. We know that those under 1 year aren't immune to this. They don't have, with the prior recommendations, they're not eligible for vaccinations. And this provides a level of protection to a very vulnerable group.
And in Public Health Ontario's last update on Thursday, there were 440 cases of the measles. More than 300 of them are in Grand Erie and southwestern public health units. Reporting live from Queen's Park, I'm Siobhan Morris. Nathan and Michelle, back to you.
Thank you, Siobhan. There's a proposal at Toronto City Hall to give elected councillors a big pay hike.
If it's approved, the pay for a councillor could top $170,000 a year. CTV's Natalie Johnson, our City Hall reporter, joins us live now with more on this pay hike proposal. Natalie.
Hi, Michelle. Yeah, this is a political hot potato if there ever was one. Toronto City councillors being asked to vote on whether to give themselves a pay raise. It comes in the context of Toronto City councillors not having received a pay increase to their base pay since 2006, so nearly 20 years ago, though they have had inflationary adjustments since then. City staff have examined comparables for councillors in other cities and have recommended that Toronto councillors get a 24% pay bump. That would bring their salary from about $137,000 now up to about $170,000, and that would align Toronto councillor pay with about the 75th percentile of salaries of councillors in comparable municipalities. Mayor Olivia Chow, though, who would not be affected by this pay increase, as Mayor says that number is way too steep.
These are hard economic times for everyone, and it's also uncertain times. It's uncertain because of the Trump tariff. It's a very senseless tariff, so things are moving really fast. I do know that the councillors are facing a lot of pressure also, so I think there will be a robust, healthy debate at council.
Facts speak for themselves. city councillors in Toronto are underpaid when you compare them to almost any other municipality in the GTA. If you compare them all to our peers in Winnipeg, Calgary, I think the pay increase is overdue. Councillors, a good councillor is working at least 6 to 7 days a week. I know I am. I know Councillor Perruzza is. And there's no other way to do this job effectively if you're not doing those kinds of hours.
In the same way that we need to be fair with our employees, we need to be fair with everybody else across the city. To some degree, we also need to be somewhat fair to ourselves. So where that lands us and where that leads, we shall see.
And even though Toronto councillors have not had a base pay increase since 2006, in 2018, Doug Ford cut the size of Toronto councillor, effectively doubling the workload for councillors. This will be a thorny issue to debate this week. Councillors set to discuss and decide at City Council this week. Reporting live, I'm Natalie Johnson. Nathan and Michelle, inside to you.
Thank you, Natalie. One of Toronto's deputy mayors is eyeing Parliament Hill, making it official that she will run for the federal Liberals. Jennifer McKelvey will run for the federal Liberals in the riding of Ajax. McKelvey was first elected as city councillor in Scarborough Rouge Park in 2018 and has served as deputy mayor since 2022. She took the reins of the city on an interim basis when Mayor John Tory resigned. Meanwhile, longtime radio host Greg Brady will be running for the Conservatives in Ajax.
And now to a story from Ajax and the unprovoked attack on a woman wearing a hijab.
It happened Saturday in a public library. CTV's Adrian Gabriel has the details.
This calm, quiet public library east of Toronto was the weekend scene of a disturbing alleged assault.
A Muslim woman wearing hijab was attacked inside the Ajax public library, splashing her with liquid and trying to set her on fire.
The victim, still too scared to speak publicly, allowed her written statement to be read by this community leader.
Every time I close my eyes, the incident replays over and over again.
It was Saturday afternoon when a mother was sitting down at this library when it's alleged a woman began yelling at her as she tried to set the victim's hijab on fire.
The fear that an incident like this could happen to my daughters keeps me awake at night and shakes my confidence in the safety of our community spaces.
The victim says she began to scream and security came to her aid as the alleged suspect struggled to get her lighter to work. Thankfully, her hijab wasn't set on fire. Police say they've arrested 25-year-old Kaylee Ann Fryer. A source with the town of Ajax tells CTV News Fryer was arrested in October for swinging a machete at a man across the street from the same library. While violent, it's unclear if the previous alleged assault also targeted a member of the Muslim community.
What we are asking the police force to do is to take this incident seriously and to address this incident as a hate-motivated crime.
There have been a number of violent attacks on Muslim Canadians across the country over the last decade, from the Quebec mosque shooting in 2017 to the targeted van attack that killed a family of 4 in London, Ontario.
This violent incident comes at a time when election campaigns are getting underway. The National Council of Canadian Muslims are calling on all political parties to release a public plan to combat Islamophobia and hate. Adrian Gabriel, CTV News, Ajax, Ontario.
CTV News has learned that 2 men charged in a Pickering murder plot are now charged with at least 2 more plots. Both new charges involved allegations that they were planning first-degree murders. CTV's Allison Hirsch joins us now from Armory Street Courts, where the men made a brief court appearance. Allison.
Yes, they were in court here this morning. It was about a week and a half ago that they were in court previously on a conspiracy to commit murder charge, but now they are facing more charges. Brennan Balasigar and Gokillan Balamoral each face 3 counts of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder and 2 counts of obtaining property by a punishable offense. According to court documents, both of those are vehicles in Markham. The conspiracy charges name a Scarborough bakery and 2 restaurants in Pickering. Both Balasigar and Mural were arrested on March 8th by Toronto Police. At the time of the original charge, Toronto Police did not disclose how they began investigating an incident outside their jurisdiction in the Durham region. And both suspects will be back here in court on April 11th. Reporting live, I'm Allison Hurst. Nathan, back to you.
Now to the federal election, where all three party leaders are out this morning.
Liberal leader Mark Carney began his day in Halifax, unveiling a plan for Canada's military.
We will expand the capabilities of the Navy with new submarines and additional heavy icebreakers to defend the North. We will deliver an unprecedented acceleration of investment in our armed forces so that we can defend every inch of our sovereign territory, while helping to support and defend our allies abroad.
Carney's defense plan also includes new submarines and more heavy icebreakers. He's also promising to create drone capabilities for use in the Arctic and pledged to give the Coast Guard a new mandate and equipment for maritime surveillance. Meanwhile, Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre was in Vaughan this morning pledging to eliminate the GST on the cost of new homes worth up to $1.3 million.
This will mean a savings of up to $65,000 on a new home, or $3,000 less in annualized mortgage payments. Real savings for Canadians will be also compounded as we incentivize municipalities to free up land, speed up permits, and cut development charges to build 15% more per year. We will sell off 15% of federal buildings and land to build homes. We will reject the Liberal Century initiative that would increase our population to 100 million. And instead, we will cap immigration so that population growth never exceeds the growth in the housing stock.
The announcement is an increase to an earlier plan the Tories had proposed in October to eliminate the GST on new homes sold for under $1 million. In Toronto this morning, NDP leader Jagmeet Singh outlined why Canadians should vote for his party.
People need us. They need New Democrats. So if you believe that we should fight back against the corporate greed in housing and grocery stores that is jacking up the prices in your life, vote NDP. If you believe that we have to defend our public universal healthcare system, vote NDP. If you believe that you deserve to afford your groceries, to be able to build a good life, to be able to take care of your kid, and to be able to go to work and save up for a rainy day and maybe retire with a decent pension, vote NDP.
Singh also said today corporate landlords are buying up buildings, hiking rents, and evicting people to make more money. Last year, the New Democrats introduced a bill that would have banned corporations from buying existing affordable apartments by restricting sales to individuals, nonprofits, municipalities, and co-ops. CTV's Colton Prale has been following all the latest developments on the campaign trail, and he joins us now live. Colton, the pledges and promises coming fast and furious. What are the key themes emerging from this campaign in these early stages?
Michelle, no surprise that we're talking affordability, we're talking housing. Those were the two big issues prior to Donald Trump imposing himself on this campaign that were really driving the Conservative surge, but also that were at the front of mind for so many Canadians. And so it makes sense that these first few days of the campaign, we've been talking all about housing. We've been talking about middle-class tax cuts. It's all been about affordability. And then you have Donald Trump on the background looming over all of this. And so, of course, it makes sense that the only non-housing affordability announcement we've had so far is a military announcement. It's Mark Carney's 2%. It's talking about drones to protect the Arctic. It's talking about boosting salaries in the military to ensure that we replace the dearth of soldiers that are missing. This has been very consistent with what we would have expected these parties to be focusing on going into this election so far. But the one other element to all of this that I think is really important to highlight is while the policies have been focused on pocketbooks and housing, transparency has been the big issue that's facing the leaders themselves. Mark Carney ran into some hot water yesterday when he said he would take part in the TVA French debate, and that his team said, actually, no, he won't, and that debate got cancelled. And then today, we're seeing Pierre Poilievre running into a number of questions around his unwillingness to get his security clearance, especially in light of new allegations, first reported in the Globe and Mail, but that CTV News has double-sourced and confirmed that India may have interfered in the 2022 Conservative leadership race. And while Mr. Poilievre is not involved in that, there's no evidence that he even knew about it, there is evidence that the potential interference would have come to light in 2022 or certainly after the unredacted NSICOP report came out, and that information would have been available to anyone with a security clearance, including top conservatives on that panel at the time. It wouldn't have included Mr. Poilievre, but it would have included people in his party. And so the question then becomes, why didn't he go further? Why didn't he, once aware that there was possible interference in his party, dig this out, seek his security clearance? And so the big question for both of these leaders over the last couple of days hasn't really been about the policies, hasn't really been about the announcements. It's been about what they're doing to be open, to be transparent with Canadians, and are they doing the most they could possibly do to affect that change. And that's really going to be something that I think we see dog both of them over the rest of this campaign as well.
You know, more of those questions will be popping up on the campaign trail. Canada is a big, wide country. There's a lot of land to cover. What's on tap today for the party leaders?
Yeah, GTA for the NDP and the Conservatives, East Coast for the Liberals. I mean, this makes a lot of sense, especially given the swaps we've seen in polling recently. I mean, you look at the 416, you look at the 509, excuse me, and we've seen such a dramatic shift in the swing in going from relatively blue to relatively red over the last 3 months. These are going to be the most contested seats in the country. The same thing is true to a lesser degree out east. The Atlantic provinces are usually a Liberal stronghold. The Conservatives were really making ground there. That's reversed over the last few months as well, as we've seen this Liberal resurgence. And so we're seeing the parties battling out over the seats where they think there is the ability to change, where there is a question mark over how strong is that support actually in place right now. Are the Liberals really going to be able to rely on the GTA to help them through this, or can the Conservatives bring back the gains that they worked so hard to get over the last 18 months in those ridings? It makes a lot of sense that we're seeing so much focus early on in Quebec, but especially in the GTA.
Yes, where the leaders go is always so telling. CTV's Colton Prell live for us in Ottawa. Look forward to more of these chats in the weeks ahead. Appreciate it.
Anytime.
Meanwhile, Elections Canada is reminding voters there are new electoral boundaries now in effect following the dissolution of Parliament on Sunday.
Because of the redistribution exercise, electors may now find themselves in a new or revised electoral district. Of the 343 district, almost 300 have been modified in some manner.
Definitely worth checking out where you fall this time around. The agency also says next month's election is predicted to cost taxpayers about $570 million. That's slightly less than the last federal vote in 2021. Elections Canada is looking to hire around 250,000 workers this time as well. A program is being brought back to set up polling stations on 119 campuses across the country that account for roughly 60% of the student population.
A senior Canadian intelligence official says there are a number of countries that could attempt to meddle in the election campaign.
Generally speaking, we found that potential threat activities related to this year's election are likely to differ from those observed in past elections. CITE assesses that despite increased public awareness of foreign interference, most threat actors remain likely to conduct threat activities and have likely adapted their tradecraft to further conceal their foreign interference activity, making it even more challenging to detect.
China, India, Russia, and Pakistan were named during a briefing yesterday on federal efforts to protect the integrity of the election. A panel of bureaucrats has the power to warn the public if it decides that one or more incidents threaten Canada's ability to hold a free and fair vote. The panel receives information from multiple sources.
Now to Gaza, where Palestinian medics say Israeli strikes have killed 23 people. The Nasser hospital says 3 children and their parents were among those killed. Hospitals in Gaza have been flooded with people wounded or killed since Israel resumed heavy bombing last week, shattering the ceasefire that brought the 17-month war to a halt. The Israeli military says a well-known Palestinian journalist working for Al Jazeera who was killed in a strike on Gaza was also a Hamas sniper.
To Ukraine now, where Russia has launched a massive drone strike. It struck Ukraine's Kharkiv region. The airstrikes caused a fire in the city of Izium. A Ukrainian official says there were 14 enemy drones. The city was heavily damaged during Russia's invasion 3 years ago, and the attack comes as the Kremlin accuses the Ukrainian military of deliberately targeting a group of Russian journalists working in a section of Russia-controlled eastern Ukraine. The attack killed a Russian war correspondent, a camera operator, and a driver.
Back here at home, nominations for the annual CAA Worst Roads campaign are now open. This is a look at Eglinton Avenue West, which was voted one of the worst last year. This annual campaign gives you a chance to voice your concerns about bad roads in your community. CAA says 85% of respondents to a recent survey reported being concerned about the state of the roads. Nearly half of those who took the survey said they experienced vehicle damage.
On our website, caaworstroads.com, you have an opportunity to select a number of issues that tend to bother you. It could be potholes, poor road maintenance, traffic congestion, pedestrian and cycling infrastructure concerns. So we do know that we provide a variety of concerns, and we have the opportunity to, leave comments in that as well. And we take all of that information and that data, and we share it with different levels of government in order to advocate for some of those roads to get the necessary funding.
Nominations can be submitted online until April 18th. The top 10 will be revealed in May. Lindsay.
Well, whether you're going for a drive or maybe just out for an evening stroll later today, you can expect the chance of showers or flurries to continue. Temperature-wise, not too bad, 4 degrees into the early part of the evening. Then we're going to start to see that temperature fall. Keep in mind, we're dealing with a west wind, so even though our overnight low of -2 degrees is normal for this time of year, it is going to feel more like -7. And we've got a battle of warm versus cooler air for much of this week, including the weekend when we have a risk of freezing rain. All of those details on the other side of this break. You're watching CTV News at noon. We'll be right back.
All right, let's talk about the forecast and another, cool start to the day. We're waiting for really good spring-like weather, and I guess it's going to be a little while.
It's going to be a while. The weekend's looking a bit cold. When that sun comes out, we're going to enjoy it. And I think that's what we do so well, is that when we do get those hints of awesome weather, everybody just leans in hard.
Yeah, we had it last week. I guess we'll try again next week for some of that weather because, the rest of this week is looking a little below seasonal and a little unsettled at times, especially heading into this weekend. Today, not too bad. We do have that chance of flurries or rain showers. Temperature-wise, though, we are close to seasonal. We'll take it because it is going to cool down over the next few days. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. Now, I've talked a bit about the chance of flurries and rain showers, but if you're not seeing that outside your window right now, you're likely to enjoy some periods of dry weather through this afternoon. It is cloudy out there, and we're anticipating that it will be mostly cloudy through the day today and really through the day tomorrow as well. But there's the active weather. Depending on where you're joining us from, you might be getting, there's some lake enhancement happening off of Lake Huron, for example, and Georgian Bay. But this is one big area of low pressure. You can see the rotation on it as it departs, but we'll hold on to that chance of a few flurries through tomorrow. And then Thursday's looking like the best day of the week. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But let's pause this here for tomorrow morning just to show you once again chance of a few lake effect bands impacting, yes, the traditional snowbelt areas, but also around downtown Toronto. Accumulating snow, not really part of the story this time around. It's just a few flurries or rain showers. Then we'll get some clearing late day tomorrow, so for your Wednesday evening. Thursday looks beautiful, lots of sunshine, and probably our warmest temperature this week as well. Then we get an increase in cloud cover. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, maybe even next Monday, a little more unsettled. And temperature-wise right now, you can see that it is still very much winter in northern Ontario. Starting to feel, well, yeah, like spring here and there. We know that this is a very changeable season, especially in the month of March. 5 is our forecast high for today in Toronto. Average daytime temperature this time of year is about 7, so we're on the cool side of that. We're pretty well where we expect to be through the overnight hours at -2, but Again, factor in those winds. Today they're coming out of the west. Tomorrow they'll be coming out of the northwest. That makes it feel a little bit colder. Snapshot of tomorrow, little more in the way of sun. Chance of flurries still for some areas, less so around the GTA, but certainly for areas northeast and across the southwest. The battle of warm and cold air really comes into play this weekend. We are going to have temperatures hovering slightly above or slightly below the freezing mark, especially for Saturday. So that's going to bring us the risk of freezing rain, really as early as Friday night, continuing Saturday, Sunday. And then it looks like a return to showers by next Monday with the temperature up around 5. That's your look at the weather for now. Michelle, over to you.
Thanks, Lindsay. A new mural designed to brighten up a construction site in St. Jamestown has been unveiled.
It was created with the help of some budding artists who finally got the chance to see the final product. CTV's Scott Lightfoot has the story.
It was the first time these kids have seen the finished project of a massive mural they helped to create.
It's really pretty. It really represents St. Jamestown. It looks beautiful. By the trees, the CN Tower, and the different colors that we used and shapes.
The mural was officially unveiled along the construction hoarding on the east side of a new 51-story rental building being built at 591 Sherbourne Street.
You will see that it is abstract art, bringing a lot of color, a lot of pizzazz to the corner, versus looking at the standard construction site.
The mural was done by dozens of local kids in the St. Jamestown neighborhood with the help of Art City and the guidance of abstract artist Sarah Clowder.
We were all, the paper was like on the floor, we were all on the floor painting apart. We had like giant paint brushes. Some people were just like spreading the paints with their hands.
The kids' handprints now form part of the work, a chance to find a piece of themselves in the finished project.
It's validating for them as individuals and artists to be able to have their artwork prominently displayed in their own community, and that's just such a big confidence booster for them.
The work of these young artists now brightening up the neighborhood for all.
We have many talented young people here in St. Jamestown. I think, we often, they are often overlooked. And so I'm happy that we're actually showcasing their talents.
Scott Lightfoot, CTV News.
And still to come on CTV News at noon, we'll take a closer look at the issues front and center in the federal election campaign.
The federal election campaign is happening under the shadow of American threats and taunts.
CTV's Abigail Bimman takes a closer look at the Trump factor, which has become a defining issue.
Canada was meant to be the 51st state.
Canada caught in the crosshairs of U.S. President Donald Trump's ire.
Canada's absolutely one of the worst.
A trade war already in full swing, with Trump threatening new punishing global tariffs April 2nd. The impact for Canada is not clear. The next round may be more targeted. Reciprocal tariffs still looming, but a White House official tells CTV News a final decision on industry-specific threats has not yet been made. Trump calls April 2nd Liberation Day. Otherwise, it would have just been known as Wednesday in week 2 of Canada's election campaign.
Canadians are transfixed on Donald Trump and relations with the United States. That's the top unprompted national issue of concern.
Campaigns are all about parties trying to control the message. But pollster Nick Nano says this time it's Trump in the driver's seat. Each day, leaders will be forced to respond to the latest White House talk. And the stakes are very high.
If you mess up on a response to Donald Trump or what you think he's just said, it could be completely devastating for a federal party leader.
And I'm ready to sit down with President Trump at the appropriate time under a position where there's respect for Canadian sovereignty.
Leaders have already been pitching themselves as the best option to deal with the American president.
In the fight with Donald Trump, I want you to ask yourselves, who do you think is going to actually put your family first? Who's going to put working people first? It's not going to be Pierre Poilievre. It's certainly not going to be Mark Carney. It's going to be us.
I'm a strong leader. I'm a tough guy to deal with. I'm firm in my convictions, and I'll always put Canada first.
This political psychologist says voters will be looking for two things: who can manage the next few years with the White House better, and who has better solutions to problems.
You've seen, fear over tariffs, fear over becoming 51st state, fear over, do we have to suddenly pop on Kevlar vests and go to war? Suddenly there's an increase in nationalism.
How that new nationalism plays out in the polls will be interesting to watch, while finding solutions to an unpredictable U.S. president is no easy task. Abigail Beeman, CTV News, Ottawa.
Alberta's Premier Danielle Smith, meantime, is on the defense amid accusations she asked the United States to interfere in Canada's election.
The comments were made in an interview with Breitbart, a right-wing U.S. network. CTV's Tyler Barrow has the details.
The federal election has been called and candidates are now making their case to lead our country. But it's a 2-week-old interview with Danielle Smith getting the most attention. Alberta's Premier spoke with right-wing U.S. news outlet Breitbart, claiming the U.S. tariff war was hurting the federal Conservatives' chances at taking power in Canada.
The longer this dispute goes on, politicians posture, and it seems to be benefiting the Liberals right now.
She suggested Pierre Poilievre would be more in sync with the new direction in America and asked the Trump administration for help.
Let's just put things on pause so we can get through an election.
One political scientist calls her plea for help astounding.
Hurts Danielle Smith because it looks like she is supporting the United States in the middle of a major trade war against Canada.
During question period on Monday, Smith bristled at the NDP's suggestion she was encouraging foreign interference in the election.
But I'm on Team Alberta, and I know that Team Alberta means doing everything we possibly can to support our energy industry.
Canada's chief electoral officer says her comments did not cross a line.
Rules on spending and third-party activities. The facts that you refer to do not trigger any of these.
Also during the Breitbart interview, Smith said former Prime Minister Justin Trudeau got into a dish during his November meeting at Mar-a-Lago, relaying a Trump account of the discussion.
He said that tariffs would result in Canada collapsing, and I think that was the wrong message to convey because it made us sound very, very weak.
Both Prime Minister Mark Carney and Poilievre addressed the controversy on day one of the campaign Sunday.
One of the decisions that Canadians will have to make, whether they want a government that is unified, that's standing up for Canada, and is taking focused action to build a better economy, or they want division and Americanism.
My response is that the president has said that he thinks it would be easier to deal with a Liberal, and with good reason. The Liberals have weakened our country. He's been very blunt that he wants a weak Canada that he can target.
Tyler Barrow, CTV News, Calgary.
Still to come on CTV News at noon, the use of body cams by staff in Loblaws stores is being expanded. We take a look at the plans after the break.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News.
A pilot project that involves using body-worn cameras at Loblaws stores is expanding to Ontario locations. The company says an initiative in which some employees wear the devices is intended to reduce violent incidents at its stores. It's not clear exactly which locations are involved in the pilot. It began last year in Alberta and Saskatchewan. In addition to Ontario, it will also be rolled out in BC and Manitoba.
23andMe is one of several genetics testing companies that exploded in popularity, with people looking to learn more about their ancestry.
The company has the DNA of millions, but is now filed for bankruptcy protection in the U.S. CTV's Andrew Johnson looks into the concerns over what happens to all that customer data.
If you are one of the millions who have sent away a sample of your saliva to DNA testing company 23andMe, you've entrusted them with the most personal of information.
This is not a password. This is not some easily changeable personal information. You cannot change your genetic data. And so if it falls into the wrong hands, you could be potentially exposed in ways we're just beginning to understand.
23andMe has filed for bankruptcy protection to facilitate a sale. Demand for its ancestry testing kits has dropped. In the event the company is sold, experts are raising serious questions about privacy. They say what happens to 23andMe's massive DNA database could depend on the buyer.
It could be used, for example, by an insurance company to deny you coverage. It could be used to deny you employment or to terminate your employment. It could be used in immigration cases if it falls into the hands of law enforcement agencies.
23andMe is telling customers there will be no changes to the way it protects their DNA under its existing privacy policy. But
those policies can change. It's hard for people to be able to predict or control how their information is used in the future.
If you're a 23andMe customer, you can protect yourself now by logging into your account, downloading your data, then selecting to permanently delete it from the company's database. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
There's new hope for hundreds of patients living with a rare degenerative disease.
It comes in the form of a new drug just approved by Health Canada. But as CTV's Pauline Chan explains, the benefits of the medication are limited.
My name is Jason, and I want to be on Skylar.
21-year-old Yasin Ramanji wants to be on Skyclarys, a new drug which has been shown to delay the progress of Friedreich's ataxia, a hereditary degenerative disease.
When he first started walking, he used to drag a leg. We went through all kinds of doctors.
Sakina Ramanji says Yasin was 6 when he finally received a correct diagnosis, and at the time there was no treatment at all.
So we try to treat symptoms, some symptoms that we can treat. For instance, that they may have muscle spasm when the disease is advanced, so that we can try and treat those.
But last week, Health Canada just approved a new drug, Skyclarys. However, Dr. Massimo Pandolfo warns it's not a cure and its benefits are limited.
This is a small improvement, stabilization, and then, unfortunately, after maybe a couple of years, you have progression that resumes, but you have gained a couple of years.
Sakina and Juza Ramanji say Yasin has declined over the years. He is now completely reliant on a wheelchair, and he recently lost much of his vision.
The problem is not only Friedreich's ataxia was making things worse for him, but the mental toll that was taking place because of him understanding that he was losing his abilities as he was getting older and things were getting worse.
But Yasin is a fighter. He does his physiotherapy and recently began college. Yasin is currently in a clinical trial, so the family is waiting to hear more details about how to access Skyclarys and how it may affect his many other medications. Right now, it is approved for patients over age 16, but provincial coverage is still being discussed. And while its benefits may not last forever, Dr. Pandolfo believes it's a step towards a lasting treatment, perhaps one involving a cocktail of medications like we use for cancer. Pauline Chan, CTV News.
Coming up, we'll meet 3 young golfers who've made their mark in Florida. That's after the break.
3 golfers from the University of Guelph, dubbed the Ontario Boys, are back at home after winning over fans and pros in Florida. CTV's Colton Weens explains.
No, but it's glory. Caleb Patri's SUV, now a home away from home for these Guelph University golfers, after Patri received free tickets to the final day of the Players' Championship in Florida just the day before in a social media giveaway.
Texted the team group chat and asked if anyone was interested in going, and then right away Beck and Liam were in, so 2 hours later we hit the road and off to Florida.
The Griffins left Guelph around 2 in the afternoon on Saturday, March 15th, and planned to head straight south. But
I realized I don't have my passport.
Actually, none of them did. So Patri's girlfriend drove from Kingston to deliver his, while the group made stops in Thornhill and Burlington to get the other passports before finally heading for the border.
So it tagged on a little bit of extra time onto the already very long trip. But I think now we know it was worth it.
Here I go, here I go, here I go. And worth it was. News of their 21-hour spur-of-the-moment road trip quickly spread online, even catching the attention of professional Joel Damon.
He referred to us as the Ontario Boys. So he felt like from that point on, we kind of had to represent for Ontario.
When the group arrived in Florida, they customized golf shirts by writing Ontario Boys in Sharpie and ran about 3 miles in the rain to the first tee.
As soon as we walked in the Players' Championship, literally as we were scanning our tickets through the gate, someone was like, "Oh my God, you guys made the trip."
The Ontario Boys took photos with anyone who recognized them, including Damon, who saw them from the field of play.
He turns around, he comes up to us and was like, "Hey guys, like, how was the drive? Like, anything I can do for you?" And then he reaches to his back pocket, pulls out his wallet, hands us a $100 bill and says, "Go get some beers."
But it gets better. As more golf groups kept reaching out, the group was invited to play 2 rounds at Hammock Beach the next day, then to the TGL event at the SoFi Center, where they received VIP treatment. Oh, and they met Rory McIlroy.
Him knowing who we were it was just unreal. I had a smile on my face the whole time. Immediately called my father and, pretty much telling him, like, this is insane.
Despite minimal sleep, the group played one more round, this time from an invite for Dyes Valley at TPC Sawgrass before heading home.
It's really hard to just put into words, but what a road trip and what an adventure it was.
It's hard to pinpoint one highlight specifically.
Their faces now making the rounds in the golf world, all three still basking in the trip. One thing that's changed, though, they'll keep their passports handy for any future decisions.
I think I might keep it in my backpack at all times, just in case Pat offers me another ticket to, another golf tournament. I got to have it on me at all times.
While they are back here in Canada practicing in Guelph, the Ontario boys say even if they don't turn pro, they already have a piece of the pros' hearts. Colton Ween, CTV News, Guelph.
I wonder if there's room for one more.
Oh, you want to be an Ontario boy? Yeah.
The time of their life.
I know. Invite us along. I think they're good as a trio. Oh, and it makes you sort of long for golf season.
Yeah, it's not far away now. Here's the thing. A lot of courses get going in the month of April, and, well, that's about a week away now. Yeah. So we're on our way. We just have to be a little more patient. Of course, we do have some flurries out there right now, so not exactly golf weather in all parts of southern Ontario. There's one more look at the satellite and radar. Let's talk about the school day forecast for tomorrow. We haven't quite put away the winter gear for the kids heading off to class. They will likely need it again tomorrow. Going to be below freezing and below seasonal. So a cool day tomorrow. Thursday looks beautiful, sunshine and 6 degrees. And then we're quite unsettled Friday and through the weekend. Nathan and Michelle.
Thank you, Lindsay. And that is CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and the whole team here at CTV News, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5 and 6. Have a great day.